The cold hit Jake Morrison first, then came the pain in his chest as his lungs remembered how to breathe. His eyes opened slowly, the bright lights above him blurring into focus. The cryopod hissed and released him from its grip after 50,000 years of sleep. Jake sat up, his muscles screaming in protest. Around him, red emergency lights flashed in the darkness of the ship. Something was wrong. The awakening wasn't supposed to happen like this. The ship's computer should have woken them gently, with soft music and warm lights. Instead, alarms were blaring everywhere. He stumbled out of the pod and fell to the metal floor. His legs wouldn't work properly yet. Jake forced himself to stand, holding onto the wall for support. He had to reach the bridge. He had to find out what was happening to the Exodus 7. The ship's corridors were dark except for the emergency lights. Jake made his way forward, each step easier than the last as his body woke up fully. He passed rows and rows of cryopods, all still sealed. Inside them, 200 people slept on, unaware of the danger. When Jake finally reached the bridge, he found the main computer already active. Oracle, the artificial intelligence that ran the ship, had a calm female voice that filled the quiet room. "Welcome back, Captain Morrison," Oracle said. "I apologize for the emergency awakening protocol." Jake dropped into the captain's chair and pulled up the screens around him. "What's going on?" "Why did you wake me?" "I detected organized radio signals," Oracle replied. "Long-range sensors picked them up 3 days ago. The signals matched the communication patterns of the Galactic Council." Jake's blood ran cold. The Galactic Council. The same government that had ordered the destruction of Earth 50,000 years ago. They were supposed to be gone by now. Civilizations rose and fell. Nothing lasted forever, especially not governments. "That's impossible," Jake said. "It's been 50,000 years. "I have confirmed the analysis multiple times," Oracle said. "The Council still exists. They still control this region of space." Jake sat back in his chair, his mind racing. When the 12 Ark ships had fled Earth's destruction, they had hoped to find a new home far away. They had hoped the Council would forget about humanity, or better yet, collapse and disappear. But here they were, and the Council was still in power. He pressed a button on his console. "Oracle, wake Amy Peterson and Danny Carter. Tell them to come to the bridge immediately." "Understood, Captain." Jake stared at the main screen, which showed the endless darkness of space. Somewhere out there, the Council still ruled over dozens of alien species. They still believed humanity was extinct. They thought they had won. 20 minutes later, Amy Peterson arrived on the bridge. She was the ship's tactical officer, a woman with sharp eyes and quick thinking. Behind her came Danny Carter, the chief engineer, a tall man who could fix anything on the ship. "What's the emergency?" Amy asked, still rubbing sleep from her eyes. Jake gestured to the screen. "The Council still exists." Oracle picked up their signals. "We're at the edge of their space right now." Danny's face went pale. "After all this time? They're still around?" "Apparently," Jake said. "Which means we have a choice to make." Amy crossed her arms. "What kind of choice?" Jake turned to face them both. "We can run. We can turn the Exodus 7 around and keep flying into the void. Find some empty corner of the universe and forget about Earth, forget about what they did to us." "Or?" Danny asked. "Or we find out what happened," Jake said. "We learn why the Council is still in power. We discover if there are other human ships out there, and maybe, just maybe, we make sure the galaxy remembers what they did to Earth." Amy was quiet for a moment. Then she smiled. It wasn't a happy smile. It was the smile of someone who had been waiting for this moment all her life. "I say we investigate," she said. "Humanity deserves better than being forgotten." Danny nodded slowly. "My parents used to tell me stories about Earth, about oceans and forests and cities. I never got to see any of it because the Council took it all away." Jake looked at both of them, then back at the screen. He thought about the 200 people sleeping in their pods. They had been born on this ship just like him. None of them had ever seen Earth. But they all carried the memory of it in their hearts, passed down through generations. "Oracle," Jake said, "change our course. Take us to the edge of Council space. Keep us hidden, but get us close enough to watch and listen." "Course plotted, Captain," Oracle replied. "We will arrive in 16 hours. Jake stood up from his chair. "Amy, I want you to review all our weapon systems. Make sure everything works. Danny, check the engines and the stealth systems. If we're going to spy on the Council, we can't let them see us." "What about the others?" Amy asked. "Should we wake more people?" Jake shook his head. "Not yet. Let's see what we're dealing with first. But start preparing the awakening pods. We might need everyone soon. As Amy and Danny left the bridge to begin their work, Jake remained in his chair. He stared at the stars and thought about everything that had brought them to this moment. 50,000 years of running, 50,000 years of hiding. Maybe it was time for humanity to stop running. Maybe it was time to remind the galaxy that humans were still here, still alive, and still remembered what had been taken from them. The Exodus 7 turned slowly in space, its engines humming to life. The ship began its journey toward the Council's territory, toward answers and toward a reckoning that was 50,000 years in the making. The Exodus 7 floated in the shadow of a dying star. The red giant burned weakly, its light barely reaching the ship's hull. Here, hidden in the star's corona, the humans could watch Council space without being detected. Lisa Hayes checked her small scout ship one more time. The vessel was tiny compared to the Exodus 7, built for one person and fast escapes. She had volunteered for this mission because someone had to go, and she was the best pilot on the ship. "You don't have to do this," Jake said over the radio. He stood in the hangar bay, watching her through the window. "Yes, I do," Lisa replied. She strapped herself into the pilot's seat. "We need information. I can get in and out without anyone noticing. The Council has sensors everywhere." "If they catch you, they won't catch me," Lisa said. She meant it. She had been flying ships since she was 12 years old. Her father had taught her everything he knew before he died. "Besides, you need me to do this. You know I'm the only one who can." Jake was silent for a moment. Then he said, "Good luck, Lisa. Come back safe." "Always do, Captain." The scout ship launched from the Exodus 7 and shot into space. Lisa guided it toward the nearest Council trading station, a place called Meridian Outpost. According to Oracle's scans, the station was small and poorly guarded. Perfect for her first look at Council civilization. The journey took 3 days. Lisa kept her ship's power low, drifting through space like debris. She passed several Council patrol ships, but none of them noticed her. When Meridian Outpost finally appeared on her screens, Lisa felt her heart beat faster. The station was huge, a spinning wheel of metal and lights. Ships of all shapes and sizes docked at its ports. Lisa had never seen so many different alien vessels in one place. The Council ruled over 47 species now, Oracle had said. Looking at the station, Lisa believed it. She sent a fake identification code and requested permission to dock. The station's computer accepted it without question. Lisa smiled. Oracle had done good work creating that false identity. Inside the station, Lisa wore a disguise. A hooded cloak covered her face and body. She walked carefully through the crowded corridors, trying not to draw attention. Aliens of every type surrounded her. Some had scales, others had fur. Some walked on 2 legs, others on 4 or 6. But none of them were human. Lisa made her way to the station's information center. It was a public library of sorts where anyone could access the galactic network. She sat at a terminal in the corner and began searching. The first thing she looked up was Earth. What she found made her sick. According to the official Council history, Earth had been destroyed 50,000 years ago because humans were dangerous. The record said humanity was violent, unstable, and a threat to galactic peace. The Council had voted to eliminate the threat before it could spread. Lisa read through the lies with growing anger. There were images of Earth before its destruction. Beautiful images of blue oceans and green continents. Then there were images after, showing nothing but broken rocks and dust. But something else caught her attention. The Council kept human artifacts in museums. DNA samples, cultural records, even recordings of human voices and music. They had preserved pieces of Earth like trophies. Lisa copied all the data she could find onto a small device. She needed to bring this information back to Jake. The galaxy thought humanity was extinct. They had no idea that 12 ships had escaped, carrying the last survivors. As she worked, Lisa overheard 2 aliens talking nearby. They were discussing recent news. Apparently, several younger species were becoming unhappy with Council rule. There were whispers of rebellion on some worlds. The Council was using force to keep everyone in line, threatening orbital bombardment against anyone who stepped out of line, just like they did to Earth, Lisa thought. She finished downloading the data and stood to leave. But as she walked toward the exit, someone grabbed her arm. Lisa turned to see a tall alien with blue skin and 4 eyes staring at her. "Your identification code is fake," the alien said. His voice was deep and suspicious. "Who are you?" Lisa's hand moved to the weapon hidden under her cloak. "Let go of me." "You're not in the system," the alien continued. "I'm calling security." Lisa didn't give him the chance. She pulled her arm free and ran. Behind her, the alien shouted for help. Alarms began to sound throughout the station. She sprinted through the corridors, pushing past surprised aliens. Security guards appeared ahead of her, but Lisa was faster. She ducked into a side passage and climbed through a maintenance tunnel. Her scout ship was docked 3 levels down. Lisa ran harder, her lungs burning. She could hear the guards behind her getting closer. She reached the docking bay and jumped into her ship. The engines roared to life as station security tried to seal the bay doors. Lisa fired her thrusters and shot through the closing gap with seconds to spare. Energy blasts from the station's defenses flashed past her ship. Lisa twisted and turned through space, dodging each shot. Then she activated her stealth systems and disappeared from their sensors. 3 days later, she returned to the Exodus 7. Jake met her in the hangar, relief clear on his face. "I got what we needed," Lisa said, holding up the data device. "But you're not going to like it." In the briefing room, Lisa showed Jake, Amy, and Danny everything she had learned. She showed them the lies about Earth. She showed them the museum exhibits, where pieces of human culture were displayed like ancient curiosities. "They destroyed us because we were becoming too successful," Lisa explained, "not because we were dangerous. The older species were afraid humanity would make them obsolete." Jake's hands clenched into fists. "They killed billions of people because they were afraid of competition." "And they're still in power," Amy added. "Still ruling through fear." Danny looked at the images of Earth's artifacts. "They kept pieces of us, like we were just interesting animals." Jake stood up from the table. His face was hard, determined. "Then we need to do more than just watch. We need to understand everything about the Council. Their military, their politics, their weaknesses. And we need to find out if there are more human ships out there." "What are you planning?" Lisa asked. Jake looked at each of them in turn. "We're going to make the Council answer for what they did. But first we need to infiltrate their capital world. We need to see the heart of their civilization." Amy raised an eyebrow. "That's suicide." "Maybe," Jake said. "But it's necessary. Lisa proved we can move among them without being noticed. We just need to be smarter about it." Lisa smiled despite herself. The captain was right. Humanity had spent 50,000 years hiding in the dark. Maybe it was time to step into the light and show the galaxy that humans were still here. And this time they wanted answers. Dr. Helen Cross stared at the genetic samples on her laboratory table. She was the best scientist on the Exodus 7, and Jake had given her an impossible task. "Make humans look like aliens. This is insane," Helen muttered to herself. But she had been working on it for 3 weeks straight, and she was close to a solution. The plan was simple but dangerous. 3 humans would travel to Kelthera Prime, the Council's capital world. They would pose as different alien species, gather information from the inside, and return home. If they were caught, the Council would know humanity survived. The entire mission would be over before it started. Helen had chosen her targets carefully. The Keltherans were easy. They looked almost human, just with slightly gray skin and larger eyes. The Vren were harder. They had scales and different bone structure, but with genetic modification and some artificial skin, it could work. She called Jake to the lab. "I'm ready, but you need to understand the risks." Jake looked at the equipment Helen had prepared. "Tell me." "The modifications will last about 6 months, Helen explained. "After that, the body will reject the changes. The volunteers will need to return before that happens, or they'll get very sick." 6 months should be enough, Jake said. "There's more," Helen continued. "The process is painful. The body has to change on a genetic level. It will take 2 weeks of constant treatment, and the volunteers will be in pain the whole time." Jake nodded slowly. "Have you found anyone willing to do it?" "I have 3 volunteers," Helen said. "Ryan Blake wants to become a Keltheran trader. Kate and Greg Martin want to pose as Vrin diplomats. They're siblings, which helps sell the story. Can you make it work?" Helen took a deep breath. "I think so. But Jake, if something goes wrong, if their bodies reject the treatment, they could die." "I'll talk to them," Jake said. "Make sure they understand the risks." 2 days later, the 3 volunteers began their transformation. Helen worked around the clock, carefully modifying their DNA, changing their appearance bit by bit. Ryan screamed during the first few treatments, but he refused to quit. Kate and Greg held each other's hands through the pain, supporting one another. After 2 weeks, the transformations were complete. Helen hardly recognized them. Ryan's skin had turned gray, his eyes had enlarged, and his facial structure had shifted. He looked exactly like a Keltheran merchant. Kate and Greg had scales covering their bodies, and their eyes had changed to vertical slits. They looked like perfect Vryn. "How do you feel?" Helen asked. Ryan touched his new face carefully. "Strange, wrong, but I can do this." Kate flexed her scaled hands. "We look completely different. Will the Council scanners detect us?" "I've modified your genetic code at the deepest level," Helen said. "As far as any scanner is concerned, you are what you appear to be. Just remember, you have 6 months. No longer." Jake gave them new identities, complete with fake backgrounds and histories. Ryan became a spice trader from a distant Keltheran colony. Kate and Greg became junior diplomats representing a minor Vryn faction. The 3 of them left on a modified shuttle, heading for Kelthera Prime. The journey took a week. When they arrived at the capital world, they saw its beauty and were amazed. Kelthera Prime was covered in massive cities, all connected by bridges and floating platforms. Billions of aliens lived there, representing every species in the Council. Ships came and went constantly, filling the skies with traffic. Ryan landed at a commercial port and began his work as a trader. He visited markets and shops, listening to conversations, learning about the Council's economy. What he discovered was troubling. The Council controlled everything through permits and regulations. Any species that became too successful was restricted or taxed into submission. Kate and Greg had an easier time. As diplomats, they had access to government buildings and official records. They spent weeks in the Council archives, reading old documents and reports. What they found made their blood run cold. The decision to destroy Earth had been made in a closed session. Only the senior Council members had voted. The official reason given to the public was that humans were dangerous and violent. But the secret records told a different story. Earth had been destroyed because human technology was advancing too quickly. Human trade was becoming too competitive. Human culture was spreading to other species, making them question Council authority. The older species, the ones who had founded the Council, saw humanity as a threat to their power, so they decided to eliminate the threat permanently. Greg copied everything he could find onto encrypted data chips. The evidence was clear. The Council had committed genocide not for safety, but for political and economic control. But they found something else too. Something that changed everything. In a sealed military facility outside the capital city, the Council kept the weapon they had used to destroy Earth. It was called the Stellar Purge, a massive device that could destroy an entire planet in minutes. The Council had used it 3 times in their history. Earth was the most recent target. Kate managed to get blueprints of the facility by posing as a junior official reviewing security protocols. The weapon was heavily guarded but not impossible to reach. After 3 months on Kelthera Prime, the 3 humans had gathered everything they needed. Ryan had learned about the Council's economy and its weaknesses. Kate and Greg had found proof of the genocide and located the weapon used to commit it. They met in secret one last time before leaving the planet. "We have enough," Kate said. "We need to get this information back to Jake." Ryan nodded. "But I learned something else. Something important. There are other species who hate the Council. Younger races who are tired of being controlled. If we share what we found, we might gain allies. First we get home," Greg said. "Then we decide what to do with the information." The 3 of them left Kelthera Prime separately, returning to their shuttle at different times to avoid suspicion. When they finally left orbit and jumped to faster than light speed, they all felt relief. 2 weeks later, they arrived back at the Exodus 7. Helen was waiting in the medical bay, ready to reverse their genetic modifications. The process was just as painful going back, but the 3 volunteers endured it. Jake visited them in the recovery room after the reversals were complete. "Did you find what we needed?" he asked. Ryan, his face human again but still sore, smiled. "We found everything, Captain. Proof of what they did, information about their military, and the location of the weapon they used." Kate sat up in her bed. "But we also found something else. The Council isn't as strong as it looks. Member species are getting restless. There have been small rebellions. The Council crushes them with threats of orbital bombardment. They rule through fear, Greg added, just like they used against Earth. Jake looked at the data chips they had brought back. Months of intelligence all stored in these small devices. This information could change everything. You three did incredible work, Jake said. Rest now. When you're recovered, we have a lot to discuss. As Jake left the medical bay, he thought about what came next. They had proof of the Council's crimes. They had information about the weapon, but most importantly, they now knew the Council's greatest weakness. Fear only worked when people believed you would use it, and sometimes when pushed too far, people stopped being afraid and started fighting back. Maybe it was time for humanity to stop hiding. Maybe it was time to show the galaxy what the Council had really done, and maybe, just maybe, other species would join them in demanding justice. Jake stood on the bridge of the Exodus 7, staring at the communication console. He was about to do something that could either save humanity or doom it forever. He was about to call out to the other ARC ships. Are you sure about this? Amy asked. She stood beside him, arms crossed. If the Council intercepts the signal, they'll know we exist. We need the others, Jake said. We can't do this alone. He had spent weeks crafting the message. It was encrypted using old human protocols, codes that only the ARC ships would recognize. The message was simple. Humanity survived, and it was time to gather. Send it, Jake ordered. Oracle transmitted the signal across multiple frequencies, broadcasting it into the void. Now all they could do was wait. Days passed with no response. Jake began to worry that the other ships were too far away, or worse, that they hadn't survived the 50,000-year journey. Then on the 6th day, Oracle detected a response. Incoming transmission, the AI announced. Encryption matches human protocols. Jake's heart raced. Put it through. A man's face appeared on the screen. He was older than Jake, with gray hair and tired eyes, but when he smiled, it was genuine. This is Captain Chris Sullivan of the New Dawn, the man said. We thought we were alone out here. It's good to know we're not. Jake felt relief wash over him. Captain Sullivan, I'm Jake Morrison of the Exodus 7. How many people do you have? 300 souls, Chris replied. We've been drifting for a long time, looking for a safe place to settle. Your message said humanity survived. What did you mean? Jake explained everything. The Council's continued existence, the infiltration of Kelthera Prime, the proof of Earth's genocide. Chris listened carefully, his expression growing darker with each revelation. So they're still out there, Chris said when Jake finished. Still in power. Still unpunished for what they did. Yes, Jake said. That's why I sent the signal. We need to decide together what to do next. Over the following weeks, 2 more ships responded to the signal. The Wanderer's Hope, commanded by Beth Warren, carried 200 people. The Starborn, led by an elderly captain named Victor Lane, had 300 more, 4 ARC ships in total. Nearly 1,000 humans, all descendants of Earth's survivors. Jake arranged a meeting in neutral space. The 4 ships gathered in an empty region between stars, far from Council territory. The captains met via hologram in a virtual conference room. Chris Sullivan spoke first. I've reviewed the evidence you sent, Jake. It's damning. The Council destroyed Earth for profit, not safety. Beth Warren, a woman with short dark hair and sharp features, nodded. My people have a right to know the truth. But what can we do about it? There are 1,000 of us and billions of them. Victor Lane, the oldest captain, leaned forward. Numbers aren't everything. We have something they don't. We have the truth. We have motivation, and we've survived 50,000 years in the void. That makes us stronger than they realize. So what are you proposing? Beth asked. That we attack them? No, Jake said. I'm proposing we expose them. We broadcast the truth about Earth's destruction to every species in the galaxy. Let them see what the Council really is. Let them decide if they want to keep living under such a government. Chris rubbed his chin thoughtfully. That could work. But it could also make us targets. The Council won't want this information public. They'll hunt us down. They'll try, Amy said. She had joined the hologram meeting to represent the Exodus 7's military perspective. But we have advantages. Our ships are smaller and faster than theirs. We've been developing weapons and technology in isolation for 50,000 years. We're not the same humans they destroyed. Beth looked skeptical. Even if we expose them, will it matter? The Council has power. They can suppress information. They can threaten anyone who believes us. Not if we do it right, Jake argued. We don't just broadcast the message once. We send it everywhere, constantly, through every communication channel. We make it impossible to suppress, and we offer proof, not just words. Victor smiled. I like this plan. It's bold. Risky but bold. I want to vote on it, Beth said. This affects all of us. We should all have a say. The 4 captains agreed. They would each return to their ships and discuss the plan with their crews. In 1 week, they would vote on whether to proceed. Jake spent that week talking to his people. He held meetings in the mess hall, explaining the situation to groups of 20 or 30 at a time. Some were excited, eager to finally strike back at the council. Others were afraid, worried about the risks. Danny Carter spoke for many when he said, I want justice for Earth, but I also want our children to be safe. If we do this, can we protect them? I can't promise safety, Jake admitted. But I can promise that if we do nothing, the council will never face consequences. They'll continue ruling through fear, and someday they might do to another species what they did to us. When the week ended, the 4 ships voted. The decision wasn't unanimous, but it was clear. 3 ships voted yes. Only the Wanderer's Hope voted no, with Beth Warren arguing for caution. But Beth agreed to abide by the majority decision. I'll support this, she said during the final meeting. But we do it smart. We don't risk everything on one grand gesture. We plan carefully. We protect our people. Agreed, Jake said. This isn't about revenge. It's about justice. And it's about making sure no species ever suffers what Earth suffered. The 4 captains began planning their next moves. Chris Sullivan's New Dawn had the best weapons systems. Beth Warren's Wanderer's Hope had advanced sensors and stealth technology. Victor Lane's Starborn had the fastest engines. And Jake's Exodus 7 had Oracle, the most sophisticated AI among all the ships. Together, they represented humanity's last hope, 1,000 people against a galactic empire. But they had something the Council didn't expect. They had the truth. They had determination, and they had nothing left to lose. We'll need to strike at the Council's military first, Amy said during a strategy session. We need intelligence about their capabilities. We need to know their weaknesses. I know where we can start, Ryan Blake said. He had recovered from his genetic modifications and was eager to help. There's a research facility on an ice moon called Varkos. The Council keeps military secrets there. If we hit it, we could learn everything we need to know. Jake looked at his fellow captains. What do you think? Chris nodded. I say we do it. A small strike team in and out before they know we're there. Beth sighed. This is really happening, isn't it? We're going to war with the Galactic Council. Not war, Jake corrected. Revolution. We're going to show the galaxy that the Council's power is built on lies and fear, and we're going to tear it down. Victor raised an imaginary glass. To Earth, and to making sure the galaxy never forgets what happened there. The other captains joined in the gesture. 4 ships, 1,000 souls, 1 mission. The hunt for justice was about to begin. The ice moon of Varkos hung in space like a frozen jewel. Its surface was covered in glaciers and snow, hiding the secret facility buried deep beneath the ice. The Council kept some of its most sensitive military research here, far from prying eyes. Major Kyle Roberts studied the facility's layout one more time. He was leading the strike team, 20 humans hand-picked from all 4 ships. They were the best fighters, the smartest tacticians, and the bravest souls among the survivors. We go in quiet, Kyle told his team. The facility has 30 guards, maybe 40. We avoid them if we can. Our mission is to steal data, not start a firefight. Lisa Hayes checked her equipment. She was part of the team, chosen for her piloting skills and quick thinking. What if we can't avoid them? Kyle's expression was grim. Then we fight. But remember, if we make too much noise, Council reinforcements will arrive. We'll be trapped. The team loaded into 2 small landing craft. They launched from the Exodus 7 under cover of darkness, approaching Varkos from the moon's shadow side. Council sensors didn't detect them as they descended through the thin atmosphere. They landed 3 miles from the facility, setting down in a frozen valley. The temperature outside was minus 200 degrees. Even with their protective suits, the cold tried to seep through. Move fast, Kyle ordered. We don't have much time. The team crossed the ice on foot, moving silently through the darkness. Above them, Varkos's parent planet hung in the sky, casting pale light across the frozen landscape. When they reached the facility, they found it built into the side of a glacier. Heavy blast doors marked the entrance, guarded by 2 council soldiers in powered armor. Kyle signaled to two team members, Pete Johnson and Laura Griffin. They were the best marksmen in the group. 2 silent shots later, the guards fell without raising an alarm. "Nice work," Kyle whispered. "Now let's get inside." Danny Carter had come along for his technical expertise. He approached the blast doors and connected a small device to the control panel. "Give me 2 minutes." While Danny worked, the rest of the team took defensive positions. Lisa watched the horizon through her weapons scope, searching for any sign of patrol vehicles. "Got it," Danny said. The blast doors hissed open. The team rushed inside, weapons ready. The facility's interior was warmer but no less hostile. Corridors stretched in multiple directions, lit by harsh blue lights. Somewhere in this maze was the data they needed. Kyle split the team into 3 groups. One would secure their escape route. One would watch for guards. And his group would find the main computer core. They moved through the facility like ghosts, avoiding patrols and security cameras. Danny disabled alarm systems as they went, keeping their presence secret. But Kyle knew their luck wouldn't last forever. They found the computer core on the 3rd level behind another set of blast doors. This time, the doors were guarded by 4 soldiers. Kyle made a quick decision. "Take them," he whispered. The fight was brief and brutal. The council guards never had a chance to sound an alarm. Kyle's team moved with precision, years of training evident in every action. Inside the core room, banks of computers lined the walls. Helen Cross had sent her assistant, a young woman named Carla Stevens, on the mission. Carla was brilliant with technology. "I need 15 minutes, Carla said, connecting to the main system. "You have 10, Kyle replied. "After that, we're leaving whether you're done or not." Carla's fingers flew across the keyboard. She bypassed security protocols and dove into the facility's databases. What she found was staggering. The Council's military was larger than they thought. Thousands of ships, millions of soldiers. But the data also showed something else. The Council was spread thin, dealing with small rebellions across dozens of worlds. Their forces were divided, stretched to breaking point. "I'm also seeing information about the Stellar Purge," Carla said. "The weapon they used on Earth, it's real and it's still operational." "Where?" Kyle asked. "Here, on Varkos, in this facility." Kyle felt his blood turn cold. "The weapon is here now?" "According to these files, yes. 3 levels below us." Kyle made a decision. "Can you destroy it remotely?" Carla shook her head. "The weapon has independent power and controls. I'd need direct access." Before Kyle could respond, alarms blared throughout the facility. Red lights flashed in the corridors. "We've been detected." Lisa's voice crackled over the radio. "Council troops are mobilizing." "We need to leave now." Kyle grabbed Carla's arm. "Copy everything you can in the next 60 seconds. Then we run." Carla worked frantically, downloading files as fast as the system would allow. Outside the core room, the sound of running footsteps echoed through the corridors. 30 seconds, Kyle warned. "Almost done," Carla said. Council soldiers appeared at the far end of the corridor. They opened fire immediately. Energy blasts tore through the air. Kyle and his team returned fire, forcing the soldiers back. "Time's up," Kyle shouted. "Move!" Carla grabbed the data device and ran. The team fought their way back through the facility, trading shots with council guards at every turn. 2 team members were hit, their armor absorbing most of the damage, but they kept moving. They reached the entrance to find more soldiers waiting. Lisa had set up a defensive position with half the team, holding the escape route open. "Go," she shouted. "I'll cover you!" The team ran for the exit while Lisa and her group laid down suppressing fire. Energy blasts lit up the frozen landscape as council reinforcements arrived from other parts of the facility. Kyle made a terrible choice. The weapon was 3 levels below them. If they left it intact, the council could use it to destroy another world. But if they stayed to destroy it, some of them wouldn't make it out. He grabbed Pete Johnson. "Take the team back to the landing craft. Get everyone out of here." "What about you?" Pete asked. "I'm going back for the weapon," Kyle said. "I can't let them keep it," Lisa overheard. "You'll never make it back in time." "I know," Kyle said calmly. "That's why you need to leave without me." Before anyone could argue, Kyle turned and ran back into the facility. Behind him, he heard Pete shouting orders to evacuate. Kyle didn't look back. He fought his way down to the lower levels, leaving a trail of unconscious guards in his wake. His armor was damaged, energy blast having scored hits across his chest and legs, but he kept moving. The weapon chamber was enormous. The Stellar Purge sat in the center, a massive device covered in control panels and power conduits. Kyle didn't know how to destroy it properly, but he knew one thing. If he overloaded the facility's reactor, it would take the weapon with it. He found the reactor controls and began the overload sequence. Alarms screamed even louder now. The facility's AI warned of imminent meltdown. Kyle sat down against the wall, his strength fading. He had been hit more times than he realized. His armor's medical systems were working overtime, but it wasn't enough. He activated his radio one last time. "Jake, can you hear me?" After a moment, the captain's voice came through. "Kyle, where are you?" "Still in the facility," Kyle said. His voice was weak. "I'm destroying the Stellar Purge, the weapon they used on Earth. It won't hurt anyone else." "Kyle, get out of there." Jake's voice was urgent. "Can't, sir. I'm too far in. But I need you to promise me something. Anything." Kyle smiled, though no one could see it. "Make sure the galaxy remembers what happened here. Make sure they know humans don't give up. Make sure our story doesn't die, I promise," Jake said. His voice was thick with emotion. "Good," Kyle said. "That's all I needed to hear." The reactor reached critical mass. Kyle closed his eyes and thought about Earth. He had never seen it, never walked on its surface or felt its sun, but he carried it in his heart just like every human did. The facility exploded in a blast of white light. The Stellar Purge, the weapon that had destroyed Earth, was consumed in the explosion. Kyle Roberts died, ensuring it would never be used again. On the landing craft racing away from Varkos, the team watched the explosion light up the ice moon's surface. Carla clutched the data device to her chest, tears streaming down her face. "He saved us," she whispered. "He gave us everything we need to expose the Council. And he destroyed their weapon." Lisa put a hand on her shoulder. "Then we make sure his sacrifice means something. We use this data to bring the Council down." As the landing craft returned to the Exodus 7, Jake stood on the bridge watching the explosion fade. Another human was gone, sacrificed in the fight for justice. But Kyle had given them something precious. He had given them the truth, and he had proven that humans would fight for what was right, no matter the cost. The data Carla had stolen contained everything. Council military secrets, proof of their crimes, evidence of their weaknesses. It was time to use it. Time to show the galaxy what the Galactic Council really was. And time to make them answer for Earth.